Hello everyone, my name is Vikas and in this session we will talk about assets. So asset is very important portion in blockchain and if I mainly talk about the Hyperledger framework, so this is a very oftenly used term which you always hear and always see when you do any kind of work in the Hyperledger fabric. So if you have heard about this term and if you are not aware that what this means actually and how this is related to blockchain, so we will explain in this session. So assets, so the very first question that comes that what is the assets? So if you just go and Google and just do a research, just search with this word, you will find out that asset is something which is owned by you. So suppose you're owning a house, you're owning a car. So that is something owned by you. You have something which is you are owning that is known as assets. So so suppose I have 5 cars with me. So that means I am owning 5 cars. So this becomes my assets. I have one home. So that become my assets basically. So asset is anything which is owned by you. So that is known as an asset. So now the asset can be a tangible item or it can be intangible. So let's talk about that, what that mean actually. What is tangible means, what is intangible means. So tangible assets are those assets which we can touch. Like the picture which you see here, this is a house. So I can go and touch my house. So this is a tangible. So if you own a car, that means you can touch your car. That become a tangible assets. You can take any other example. Any asset which you can touch, that become your tangible assets. And when we talk about intangible, that we can't touch, but that do exist. Like to own a house, to own a tangible assets, I have taken a loan from my bank. So that loan is become intangible asset. Or either way, to own a car, to buy a car, I have taken a loan from my bank. That loan is an intangible assets. So like if you hearing a music, the music is a intangible assets. There can be n number of example. The item, the assets which you don't touch, that become intangible. So there are few confusing assets which we have that sometimes falls intangible, sometimes become tangible. But this is the main two type of assets which we'll always talk about when we talk about assets. So uh, I think you're clear now about tangible and intangible. Now the question comes that how this is related to blockchain. So if you're starting with Hyperledger Fabric, you will often hear this term assets because whenever you start developing any kind of application in the Hyperledger Fabric, you always define the assets. So if you take any kind of scenarios, so the one kind of scenario which is there on Google and which is very much popular from the IBM case study is a car ownership. So first of all, you are owning a car. Now, if you want to sell your car to someone else, so the ownership will change. The ownership of car will change. So in that case, what you have, the asset is your car. So you're dealing with a car here and you're shifting the ownership basically. So that will be stored in a blockchain. You can take about the health record. So suppose you're going to maintain your health record on a blockchain. So that health information is an asset which is belongs to you. Now you're storing that asset to a blockchain. So this kind of information, so these assets, you generally define that what kind of assets you want to store on a blockchain and what kind of operations you want to perform on that asset in a blockchain network. So this is the reason, this is a starting point. The assets become your starting point if you want to learn the blockchain, and that is what you will define in the starting. So your blockchain architect will always identify that what all assets which I have to define in a blockchain networks. Then only they will go further and define the other things. So for any blockchain networks, to start with any application which you will build in a blockchain, the very first thing which you will identify is the assets. So once you define the assets, then you will go further and define the transactions and the operations which you have to perform on that assets. So this is all we have in this session, which talk about mainly on assets. In going forward session, we will talk about the more concept which we have under the blockchain and the Hyperledger fabric. Thanks for watching.